Okay, NXT 1 week before Stand and Deliver. I hate the fact that Stand and Deliver is April 1st. It's stupid to put a show that really needed its own day on the same day as night one that's going to be maybe 5 or 6 hours. Maybe 5.5 hours, maybe 6. And that's another, 2 or 3 hours on top of that. They deserve their own day. I'm saying it now because I don't want to rant this later. Particularly, I'm trying to make this video short because the build here is okay, but it's not like it needs more. I still feel like it needs something more to it. But let's just go through it quickly because I'm not going to be heavily detailed, but I will say there were things here I agree with. Let's put it like this. Did I enjoy seeing Pretty Deadly dealing with Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes with the hype man who made the match at the end of the show, namely Trick Williams? No, not really. It wasn't really necessary, but it is kind of necessary. Can they coexist at least was addressed. I will say this, that they said it themselves. Braun Breaker was not in the mood to do a can they coexist scenario. And Carmelo, the same thing, they agreed to it. Neither one of them wanted it. But at least, compared to the main roster, at this point, let's be honest, I saw I practically saw all Raw. And it was boring. I agree with JD. I agree with Just Alex. It was boring, except for the Cody Rhodes segment with the Tribal Chief. And the beginning with the Usos, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. Everything else in between was boring. Boring. I didn't see anything interesting for me personally. I'm sure people liked it. Maybe people loved it. But for me personally, I felt like it was lacking. Here, it feels like it needed more. But at least they addressed the stuff that many people didn't like from the main roster. And that is, can they coexist? The wrestlers themselves said it. I agree with that. That was the best thing. Now, I want to say this. They are still holding up that Roxy is like Roxanne. Just can't wrestle. They don't know what's going on. And they hope that she has a speedy recovery. If this is still storyline between I do believe it's storyline. I do believe that. They just did not want her to job to whoever they had in the match. Which I don't understand why Meiko Sakamura was not involved in it. I will talk about the women, and I got something to say about Valkyria. I do. But at least they're still sticking with the story that there's still something going on with Roxanne Perez. They just did not want her to job the way they did. They're planning. At least that's what it looks like. Let's go to the first qualifying match and then the second one. The first qualifying match for the women's ladder match for the NXT women's title. And this is Ivy Nile versus Valkyrian. I think I should do it first because I would have rather seen, and let's make this clear. Valkyrian won. We know this. I don't understand why Paxton didn't come out and mess with Ivy Nile. She should have, but she didn't. Why wasn't this match Indy Hartwell versus Valkyria and let Indy Hartwell win? Why is Indy Hartwell still not doing anything? What? They don't want two Booker T girls doing something like one after the other? Particularly that Indy Hartwell actually revamped and actually has been more interesting for many, many months. But now they're doing nothing with her. And here's the thing about Valkyrian. I don't hate the wrestler herself. Her style is fine. I don't hate how she looks. She's fine. What I do hate is her character. She should be something entirely different. I would rather see her like a Kurt Angle type of character. I would rather see her like a the gold standard of Shelton Benjamin. I'd like to see him maybe like a let's do Chad Gable if you have to. Anything other than Valkyrian who doesn't feel like Valkyrian. You know who feels like a Valkyrian? Aladon. You know who feels like a Valkyrian? Alba Fire. The way they both have been booked, showing a witch and a fire eater, or not like a fire eater, but she deals with fire, feels more like that character than she does. And it's boring. And her being in ladder match with, if I believe it's Zoe Stark. If I remember, Gigi Golan was shown on the show and did her interview. And then you got Staten, who I was not surprised to win against Indy Hartwell. I see they're pushing her hard, as well as the Valkyrian. I don't believe Valkyrian even deserves to be in the match. Not because she can't wrestle the match, but because her character makes no damn sense to be in that type of a match. Valkyrian shouldn't be there. If she's supposed to be a mythical creature of the Isles, like Aladon, like a Alba Fire, why is she getting this opportunity now? It makes no damn sense. I don't get it. I'm moving on. Now, we got the match that kind of was from a segment, but it was already scheduled. Now, we already know Wesley tried to explain everything about why he goes out there and does these open challenges and why he's having this fatal 5-way. Then Dragon Lee comes out. Was I interested in Dragon Lee? Now, I've seen him wrestle a couple times. I saw him on OH. I saw him on AEW TV. And I believe I saw him another time on another promotion. I can't remember. It might have been, I don't think in MLW. I don't remember. He wasn't in NWA. Probably in New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's probably it. Seems fine. He talks well. He talks English very well. I don't have a problem with him. Do I believe he needs to be in that match this soon? No. Because that makes me think like he's not really valued like the European wrestlers are being valued. Let me give it to you like this, guys. When you look at how Dragunov and McDonough, what are they doing? Honestly. The only person that's getting anything is Grayson Waller, and he had now a shot twice at the main title. At least he's gotten somewhere. Doesn't mean it's going to last, because it seems in WWE, they do not, in NXT, care about their UK wrestlers. They don't. They really don't. They see them as just as an afterthought. Look, I'm not like a big UK fan. I never watched NXT UK. But I value people who has relevance. J.D. McDonough had such relevance when he bent Axiom's leg into a damn pretzel. Then you see a Dragunov who's a unique individual who is destructive. And when it comes down to it, they're sticking them both together, which is okay. But what will they do after that? Because J.D. McDonough has done nothing except job for those who needed to be jobbed for. So when we got this match, and then we got the punches to the face to a Dragon Lee, and then West coming out to try and defend, you see 100% how they don't value them. I just don't see it. Now somebody's going to say, dude, you're wrong. They are valuing. Then tell me why J.D. McDonough has done absolutely nothing since he bent Axiom's leg into a damn pretzel. Just because he's going to be in this match does not mean he's going to be valued after the match. I don't see a damn thing for either one of them except for them to beat the crap out of each other. That's going to lead nowhere. Dragunov doesn't look like he's going anywhere once he finishes with J.D. McDonough. It's because they have no idea what to do with them. When they do, let them be what they were on NXT. But since it looks like Vince, even though HBK is running it, Vince is going to screw them up once they get to the main roster, because let's be honest, I'm being honest with you. We know Vince is running the main roster. He was at Gorilla a couple of weeks ago. He's working the main roster. That's the reason why Raw seemed boring. Boring. So, it's what we get. Now, let me give it to you like this. When it came to Chase U and the schism and the debate, was it good? It was necessary more than it was good. When it comes down to it, Chase U is now up for grabs at Stand and Deliver. We got Tyler Bates now part of Chase U in a sense, as an honorary member, helping against the schism. Chase U has been interesting. Chase U has meant something. The question is, will Chase U spark something new for a Duke Hudson or a Tyler Bates? That's going to be the big question. Schism is schism. Schism will probably generally be alright if they decide to really push them. But they really haven't pushed them that hard. But the question is a Duke Hudson going to have some change for his character and come full circle like he did when he first came in, uncaring? Will Tyler Bates actually have something now that he's helped out Chase U and Thea Hall? That's going to be a question. Now, here's another thing we got a question. What are they going to do with Fallon and Kiana James? Kiana got busted. She was busted by Fallon. They got their asses beaten up later by Isla Dawn and by Alba Fire. And you hear Kiana James say simply, don't say anything to Books. Don't say anything. We can't do it now. And now she agreed. But what does that actually mean for their tag team? Does that mean that Alba Fire and her fire-eating partner are going to win and then they're going to start having their feud finally, which is now a second time around? I don't know. I'm not saying that this is going to be a great situation in this story. I don't know how they're going to twist this to make it mean something for Fallon, for Kiana James, who I do believe is much more important than Fallon. Let's make this clear. Do I care about Fallon? No. She's not a bad character. She's not a bad wrestler. But do I believe Kiana James... You see, I'm botching because Kiana James is actually better. And she's still in a character that I believe they need to break her out of that mold and do something entirely different. Hopefully this will lead her to that, to totally change. She needs to change her ring attire. She needs to change her character. That's what I believe would be better for her. But that's just me, guys, down below. Johnny Gargano in his unsanctioned match. Something he's done with Tommaso Ciampa. You see him a botch. You know why I'm botching? Is that this unsanctioned match for a Johnny Gargano, and you see pretty much Banal getting his ass ripped apart because he tried to act like Johnny in the very beginning of his segment. Because he came out, he acted like Johnny. Johnny comes out, whooped that ass, then wanted the match. And then you see Grayson Waller saying, if you want me to sign it, give it to your friend at ringside. In other words, Vic Joseph, I'll sign it tomorrow as long as you're not in the building. The thing that gets me, it's a good match. Going in to Stand and Deliver. But what does this really give for Grayson Waller? Does this mean he will be promoted into the main event again? Does this mean he'll be promoted to the main roster? And now that we know that Vince is running the main roster... Look, Vince wasn't Gorilla. We know it. He is there even if Triple H, let's be honest, Triple H out of 100% might be only running 40% of it. Maybe even less. He may be a figurehead, and Vince is taking his advice in advisement. In other words, his ideas, he's taking an advisement because Triple H can get his ass kicked out by Vince at any time because he's still the shareholder that makes the rules. Vince McMahon. But does this mean Grayson Waller will actually have something after Stand and Deliver? I don't know. Particularly after what we saw at the end of the show. What do we got? We got simply Hayes and Breakker versus Pretty Deadly. A fine match. It was alright. In the end, I didn't expect them to lose. They did not. But then if one and two things has to happen here. If Braun wins, Trick has to go to the main roster. Not Trick, but if Braun wins, Carmelo Hayes. And actually, this is what I'm thinking. No matter what, Trick Williams needs to be bye-bye. He needs to be gone from Carmelo Hayes. Either go to the main roster or be off on his own. So pretty much Carmelo can do whatever he needs. Tricky needs to go away. But it's got to be one of two things. If Braun wins, Carmelo goes to the main roster. If Carmelo wins, Braun goes to the main roster. Because no matter, even if you think Braun's not ready, I believe they're going to bring him up. No matter if he's ready or not. So this is just what I think. And this is just me. If I'm missing something, I'm leaving it out on purpose. Because there's a lot of questions. Particularly what is going to happen after Stand and Deliver. We got 1 week left. The question isn't, is Stand and Deliver going to be good? It don't matter. Because they're on the same day as WrestleMania Night 1. As WrestleMania Night 1, anything before that, it's going to be a freaking blur. Because it starts in the East at 1 o'clock in the evening. 1 o'clock p.m. for me. Guys, if I were to do a review, and I've already said I'm not, I may do it Monday. But if I did that review, it would be a blur compared, even if it was only 2.5 hours. Let's say maybe it was 2.5 hours. If it was that, it might be 3. 3 hours. If they're going to make a decent show, it would be 3 hours. 2.5, maybe. But that goes along with nearly 5.5 to 6 hours or more of WrestleMania Night 1. WrestleMania Night 1 is going to be 5, maybe 5.5 hours with the pre-show. Who's going to remember it? Unless they only look at Stand and Deliver and not WrestleMania, they'll be fine. But that's going to be too much stuff to remember. They're going to lose out. And that's what's pissing me off the most. These guys are going to bust their ass on night 1, the prelude to WrestleMania. Well, not the prelude. Look. As it stands, Stand and Deliver is going to get buried by WrestleMania. And it shouldn't be. It should have been either this weekend or the next weekend. Because it deserves its own day. But it's just me. Peace.